The locker room has turned against the coach after the Indiana Fever's recent devastating defeat. Not in the nuanced body language manner that has defined the tension this season. Not in the evident discord on the sidelines and the alleged rumors. According to what is spreading right now, this is something more structured, more purposeful, and more immediately harmful for Stephanie White's future in Indianapolis.
Caitlin Clark the hell away from this clown-ass organization. We gotta get into this game, man. Y'all know Caitlin Clark played small forward for the entire first half of the game, all the way until about 4 minutes left in the third quarter when the Indiana Fever were down by 9. The girl was playing small forward. Aaliyah Boston brought the ball up the whole first 3.5 quarters. This is ridiculous. This is malpractice.
Malpractice. That word is thoughtful and well chosen. Malpractice occurs when a professional with a duty of care takes acts that are so drastically different from standard practice that they result in predictable harm. The pundit said Stephanie White did not make a bad choice. According to him, she made a call that was so blatantly wrong that it qualifies as an entirely different kind of failure. One of the most dynamic point guards in WNBA history and the league's leading assist creator, Caitlin Clark, played small forward for 3.5 quarters as her center ran the point during a game against the New York Liberty. Please do me a favor before you continue. Please subscribe if you like this video. Over 83% of viewers are not subscribers. It only takes a second, is free, and greatly aids in the channel's growth. Have you already subscribed? I'm grateful. We sincerely thank you for your support. Let's get back to it now.
Caitlin Clark not involved the first 3 quarters. She got to go one-on-one over and over and over to try to get involved. Nobody passed her the ball not named Sophie Cunningham. This shit is ridiculous.
Not involved. Compelled one-on-one. In a game against a championship-caliber opponent, the ball would not locate her unless a particular teammate made the deliberate decision to send it her way.
Stephanie White should be fired immediately. Fire this bum, man.
The Observer's opinion is that. Additionally, 5 Fever players who have allegedly joined forces with Clark to demand White's resignation may be nearing the verdict, according to the rumor that is currently circulating at full speed. Let's construct the whole case. The specifics of Stephanie White's lineup decision is what makes the criticism so harmful, so let's be clear about what it actually means in terms of basketball. On the basketball court, point guard is the most mentally taxing position. The point guard, music, orders the proper action, initiates the play, assesses the defense as it sets, determines which coverage is being played, and makes the initial judgment on where the ball should go. In addition to skill, this calls for a certain type of basketball processing speed, the capacity to instantly convert defensive knowledge into offensive action, music. This is something that Caitlin Clark excels at. She is generational due of her particular skill set. She can analyze defensive rotations, absorb information quickly, and spot open players before they're completely open. These are the kinds of highlight reel passes that pack arenas and generate a league-leading assist total. A center is Aaliyah Boston. Her processing of basketball is tailored for completely distinct data. Defensive positioning around the rim, finishing through contact, screening angles, and post-position readings. These are practical and useful abilities. These aren't point guard abilities. It is not an unusual lineup experiment to start Boston at the 1 and Clark at the 3 for 3.5 quarters. It involves reversing the expert deployment of your 2 most crucial players at the same time. While the player with center processing attempts to initiate from the top of the key, you are asking the player with elite point guard processing to operate away from the ball.
Bro, Stephanie White played Aaliyah Boston at point guard for 3.5 quarters. I'm ready to lose my mind, bro. We got the best point guard in the league. Why is our center playing point guard?
Our center is playing point guard. Why is that? The question itself provides an answer. There's no right response. This decision against the New York Liberty is not justified by any defensive matchup. Your center must manage primary ball distribution while your actual ball handler works off the ball. This is not a discussion of an attacking scheme. The evidence is the decision. It can be harmful without further context. On its face, it is harmful. Because Clark is aware that once the ball leaves her hands, it won't return to her. She makes adjustments when she learns from experience that the possession will stall somewhere else and the clock will run out. She uses an angle to attack sooner in the clock, before the defense has set. The alternative is to watch the possession squander from the wing, so she seizes the one-on-one opportunity. Clark wasn't at her best during those early clock one-on-one attacks. When Clark is at her best, she can read a committed defense, spot a gap, and make the pass that creates an open shot. In the early morning one-on-one, Clark is working within the limitations of a system that does not provide her with the setting that her skill set needs. The shooting statistics and the team's offensive rhythm both reflect the forced inefficiency brought on by that restriction because the plays would make it easier for everyone else to score. When Clark's job is limited to off-ball isolated hunts, the pick-and-roll actions, off-ball movement, and ball screen reads that result in kick-out threes are not produced. What went wrong is hardly the most incriminating piece of evidence in the entire game. It is what worked, when it did so, how long it lasted, and what transpired after it ended. The Fever eventually used pick and roll with Boston and Clark late in the third quarter. When Clark's playmaking is done well, the moves that the offense is designed to execute can be devastating. And the outcome was instantaneous.
We started to play Caitlin Clark style in the third quarter. When we play, bro, the second we didn't run pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston all first half. We finally ran it toward the end of the third quarter. You know what happened? Caitlin Clark found Sophie Cunningham, backdoor layup. We run pick and roll with Caitlin and Aaliyah, layup for Aaliyah. We ran it again with Caitlin and Aaliyah, layup for Aaliyah.
Cunningham's backdoor layup. For Aaliyah, layup. Once more, off the roll. Once more, layup for Aaliyah. The Fever reduced a 9-point deficit to 2 points in a matter of possessions. They carried out the actions that their personnel were trained to do out, not because they experienced hot shooting or because the Liberty became cold. The transcript is aiming for that proof. It's not a philosophical discussion about coaching methods or a statistical argument about shot selection. Rather, it's a real-world example of how the offense functions when it's constructed properly and fails when it's not. In a hurry, 9 points down to 2. What then took place? The Fever returned to the malfunctioning structure. The old routines came back. The game slipped away as the gap widened once more. The third quarter sequence highlights this particular coaching shortcoming. The effectiveness of the Clark-centered pick-and-roll technique was shown in real time by Stephanie White. She observed how it operated. She witnessed her team's 9-point loss to 2. The system then reverted when the game needed that in order to proceed. Some coaching judgments are incorrect at the moment, but later proven to be correct. Some choices appear correct at first, but they eventually show their shortcomings. Then there are choices where you have the solution and can see it working in the moment of the game you're coaching, and you go back to something that was obviously ineffective. The second type of evidence is the sequence from the third quarter. It's not post-event analysis. When the offense is set up properly, it is a real-time read of the results. It's hardly a basketball mystery why that structure wasn't maintained through the fourth quarter. It's a coaching decision that clearly has a high cost. It was witnessed by every player on that floor. The 2 points, the 9 points, the sensation of the offense establishing its rhythm, and then the sensation of losing it once more when the system reverted. The locker room annoyance described in the mutiny rumor is precisely fueled by that experience. Against Music, the New York Liberty, he grabbed 3 rebounds in 30 minutes for $6 million. In this case, the rebounding number is more than just a basketball statistic. In the games where her offense isn't translating, Boston's roster position and salary are justified by a precise assessment of how well she is performing. Internal presence is supposed to represent Boston's value proposition when the scoring isn't there. Positioning, grabbing rebounds, preventing opponents from getting second chances, and managing the glass on both ends. The specific statistic that undermines that value proposition is 3 rebounds in 30 minutes, with Clark out-rebounding her. It becomes extremely difficult to provide a favorable response to the topic of what Boston is offering if she isn't producing great rebounding and if the most basic physical task at her position isn't occurring at a level that warrants her deal. Additionally, the fact that Boston had the ball up the floor for the majority of the same game as the de facto point guard adds a particular absurdity that elevates a poor stat line to a criticism of the coach. Because to its historical significance, the term mutiny has weight, yet in a professional. In the realm of sports, it describes something less dramatic and more precise. A concerted effort by a number of participants to inform organizational leadership that the existing coaching environment is unacceptable and must be changed. Professional sports player mutinies are more frequent than most people realize, and the majority of them go unreported. They occur in meetings with general managers, talks with team presidents, and phone calls from agents informing front offices that several players are dissatisfied and that something needs to change. Sometimes the result is a change in coaching. There are moments when music is a discussion reset. The players are sometimes informed that the coach will remain, and they must accept this. The combination of two factors is what makes the reported fever scenario noteworthy. The precise identity of the participants, whether Clark is one of them. The coalition's commercial power is unmatched by any other group of fever players, and the rumor claims that the demand is particularly for White's resignation, rather than for the offense to be adjusted. We are certain that this is an unverified rumor. The fifth is particular enough to be tested, and the rumor will be promptly disproved if the details are incorrect. However, it is not necessary for the exact rumor to be true in every aspect in order for the directional truth of the underlying situation, that player dissatisfaction with White's coaching has reached a level that necessitates organizational response, to be true. The front office's assessment of role players in conflict with a coach is fundamentally different if Clark is a member of a player group calling for White's resignation, if this is more than just 4 role players voicing their dissatisfaction, and if the team's commercial focal point supports them. The team controls it, mediates it, and may make changes, but in the end, it may choose to defend the coach and hope the players would adjust. That is the typical organizational reaction to non-star coaching conflicts. Professional sports player mutinies are more frequent than most people realize, and the majority of them go unreported. They occur in meetings with general managers, talks with team presidents, and phone calls from agents informing front offices that several players are dissatisfied and that something needs to change. Sometimes the result is a change in coaching. It's a reset conversation at times. The players are sometimes informed that the coach will remain, and they must accept this. The combination of two factors is what makes the reported fever scenario noteworthy. The precise identity of the participants, whether Clark is one of them. The coalition's commercial power is unmatched by any other group of fever players, and the rumor claims that the demand is particularly for White's departure rather than, please adjust the offense, music. We are certain that this is an unverified rumor. 5 is detailed enough to be put to the test, and the rumor will be swiftly disproved if the details are incorrect. However, it is not necessary for the exact rumor to be true in every aspect in order for the directional truth of the underlying situation, that player dissatisfaction with White's coaching has reached a level that necessitates organizational response, to be true. If Clark is a member of a group of players who are calling for White's departure, and if this is more than just 4 supporting players voicing their displeasure, the front offices. When role players and the coach disagree, the calculation is fundamentally